Adam, is there a perfect workout? This is a question I got asked today. The thing is, I don't know if there's a perfect workout for every single person. There's a lot of things that we would need to know before we actually answer that question specific to you, but I do think that there is a best plan for you as a specific individual. And the thing is, we put 5 people in a room. There's 5 different bodies. There's 5 different unique training ages, injury histories, body types. I mean, one person might have a really deep hip socket. Another person might have a really shallow hip socket. We don't know what's going on at their shoulder, their hip, their ankle, their knee, their neck. We don't know their posture. We don't know a lot of different things that would go into making a perfect training program. So I don't know if there's a perfect training program, but every program, no matter what, needs to have 9 things included in it. It needs to have some kind of speed, power, and strength. You're not going to get away from those. Even if you are a marathon runner, triathlete, endurance athlete of some kind, you're still going to want to have some kind of strength, power, speed in your programming, and they need to go in that order of importance. You get strength via movement quality first, and then you can work on power, and then you can work on speed. You do not try to work on those in the opposite direction. When it comes to cardio, we need some kind of cardio. We need to be putting some kind of stress on the heart, right? So we need to be looking at alactic, glycolytic, and aerobic training. Aerobic training would be the slow, steady state type stuff where we're able to keep pace for a very long period of time. You want some of that in your life. The idea that you should not have any of that would be really silly. And if you look around the internet, there's a lot of hate around the steady state cardio stuff, but where the steady state cardio thing it gets error is or where people make the most errors with steady state cardio is that they just do too much of it. They're doing it 2, 3, 6 times a week. Really, we are aerobic monsters. Okay, we ran our food to death for tens of thousands of years on the southern tip of Africa. So we are still the descendants of those people. So we can run at a galloping pace, that steady state pace, for an extremely long period of time. So anyway, you need aerobic, but you also want some alactic and glycolytic. Those are both basically some version of high intensity interval training. And if you guys have any questions about this, ask me while I'm on here and I'll answer them. Thanks for being here, by the way. This is kind of cool, but high intensity interval training can be alactic, it can be glycolytic. It just kind of depends. Glycolytic is like where you're really burning. Alactic is where you might have just a little bit of recovery in between. You want some of that. You want that stress in your heart. You want that from a caloric burn standpoint. You want that from a performance standpoint. You want it from a fat burning standpoint. You want it from an everything standpoint. You want some kind of high intensity interval training, and you want some kind of aerobic training. It just matters how much you're doing of all these. And it is always assumed that you are going to be taking care of your mobility, your stability, and your stiffness. Stiffness is a very good thing. We want to keep that. Without stiffness, you're not able to walk around. Your bones want to be stiff. You'd be a pile of flesh on the floor without stiffness. So you want stiffness. Usain Bolt couldn't have been the fastest man in the world without a decent amount of stiffness. You need stiffness. Okay, stiffness is a very good thing. It just matters what kind of stiffness and why are we experiencing it. Okay, so those are the 9 that you need to have. Every single program. I can't tell you exactly what your program should look like. I don't know if there's a perfect program, but there's a best plan of attack, and we need to sit down and ask some questions, ask your body a few questions before we actually decide what's the best plan of attack for you. So is there a perfect program? Nah. But every program needs to have some kind of strength, power, speed, has to have some kind of alactic, glycolytic, and aerobic training, and some kind of mobility, stability, stiffness, attention. You're not going to be able to go without one of those. Now, if you're looking for fat loss, just to give you a little idea, concept, what I'm talking about, fat loss is probably going to be 2 to 3 days of high intensity interval training, 1 day a week of aerobic training, and probably 2 to 3 days of strength training. If you're trying to get bigger, more muscular, you're probably going to want to do like 3 to 5 days of strength training, 1 day of high intensity interval training, and maybe 1 day of some kind of cardiovascular activity. It doesn't have to necessarily be running. It can be a lot of different things, but you're just not going to get away from those 9. Those 9 need to be at every single program, no matter what. Doesn't matter the medium, doesn't matter if you're going for fat loss or if you're 80, doesn't matter if you're 20. You need some level, some component of that in your program, and if you don't, you're leaving results on the table. You're leaving experience on the table. And there's a lot better things that you could be having out of there. And because exercise is not about getting better at exercise. You use exercise to enhance everything else in your life. That's why you do exercise. But anyway, if you guys have questions, ask me below. I will answer all of them.